All right, we've made it to Vegas, Pete. Fight week. Tim Tszyu, Sebastian Fundora, the rematch, mate. High stakes in this fight.
I'm so excited, Jay. I think we all are. It's wonderful to be back here, the mecca of boxing. And I've got to say, I just interviewed Tim Tszyu over there, and maybe I'm drinking the Kool-Aid, but I've never been so confident. He's given me a lot of belief that he will get the job done. What I've just seen, it's the best shape I've ever seen him in, and I think he'll stop Sebastian Fundora on Sunday.
Tim said to perhaps expect a bit more of a strategic sort of fight. What are you expecting from Tim?
Well, we asked him that question, and look, I think he'll adopt the methodology that he has previously against Mendoza, against even Joey Spencer, watchful early. He said he'll be cautious, but he also did say that he wanted to be more aggressive in the later rounds once he builds the pressure that he applies to through him, that imperceptible presence that he has, the way he stalks the ring. So I think it might be a slower Tim than what we saw in the first fight. We saw the first 2 rounds were won convincingly by Tim, but I think this time he'll be watchful early, but I think he'll then apply more pressure as the rounds intensify and they go on, and I believe that there'll be a stoppage in this fight. I think he can stop Fundora, and I think he will.
What did you make of Fundora's comments about the cut and perhaps Tim Tszyu was making excuses for his loss in that first fight?
Well, he's entitled to that opinion, isn't he, Jay? I mean, look, maybe some validity to it, but I can't imagine what it's like to be in there with a massive gash with blood in your eyes. So you can only take Tim on his word. I think he would have been visually impaired, no doubt. But it's been interesting to see Fundora's comments around questioning whether Tim was using that as an excuse, suggesting that he actually could see him the whole time. And Fundora said, I could see the look in his eyes that said he's coherent and he could see every shot coming from me. So some mind games there from Fundora. And look, I watched a package with Fundora last week, which it had me a little worried because I think he's a serious fighter. He's the tallest world champion in the world currently, 197 centimetres, 203 centimetres reach. So it is a unique beast that Tim's facing. And I think Fundora will glean some confidence from his victories. I mean, I know Johnny Lewis once said that when you win a fight or a world title, you gain 10%. And the loser loses 10%, and that differential can be hard to overcome in a rematch. So that's the battle facing Tim. But Fundora will back himself to win. He's got the home crowd advantage. He's got the hometown advantage. He probably thinks he can win on points again, but last time it was a split decision and it was only one judge in the final round that swayed it could have been a draw. So I think that should give Tim confidence that he can get the job done.
Now, whenever I asked him about the pressure heading into fights, he sort of says, he doesn't feel it or he feels it to a certain extent. But in this fight, he's got to be feeling some sort of pressure.
He's been very relaxed, Jay, as you've seen. But I know that he said to us just then that this is make or break. It's his career's on the line, is how he's looking at it. So he says, this is it for me. And he said, I'm willing to die in that ring if I have to. So that's his mindset. And to be honest, Jay, I think he has to have that mentality because another loss now in America, look, I'm surprised he's got the world title shot again so quickly after he lost to Medvedev. I thought it might be a year or two before we saw him back at this level. He's No Limit have done a great job to get him back to this level, but Tim now gets another chance to prove that he can conquer America, which has been his long-term goal, and that he proves his gravitas and credibility with the American media and the American fight fans over here. I think the jury's still out over here as to whether he's really the real deal and can go up another gear to challenge the best in the world on the world title stage. So I think that Tim's got another gear in him. I really do. But if he can't win this fight, then he goes back to domestic mediocrity, and we don't want to see that.
What's, Tim's elected to keep the same corner in this fight. They came under a lot of criticism in that first fight. What are your thoughts on that? And Tim says loyalty over everything, but what are your thoughts on it?
Good point. Look, I think the corner were probably overly criticised. I think some criticism was warranted. I think they could have, if they probably showed more gumption, maybe stop the fight at the end of the third round, and then we get the draw and Tim retains his belt. But in saying that, they were guided by Tim, and Tim's a warrior, and he wanted to go through and fight to the very end, which is a credit to him. But I think Mark Gambin, the cut man, copped a lot of criticism. I've noticed his kit bag has changed. Even he said it. He's got a few more things. He's added a few more bits to his arsenal in terms of more band-aids or whatever, more even the sutures that he's using. He's looking at bigger pads. So I think that suggests that he's had a good look at himself. I think Mark Ehrman probably thought I had to be better in the corner. I believe he will be. So at the end of the day, I can't be too critical otherwise. I mean, it was a massive gash, and according to the surgeon that repaired Tim's cut, no one would have repaired that gash, not even the great Stitch Durant. So sometimes there's just a gash that can't be healed in a round or two or a minute or two, and I think that was one of those gashes. Let's hope it doesn't happen again. But if it does, there's going to be pressure on Tim's corner to make the right decisions under pressure, and pressure on Igor, his head trainer, to make key tactical decisions at certain parts of the fight. So the corner's under pressure, they've got to get it right.
What did you make of Tim's comments to Ben Damon a couple of weeks ago? He said that he'd addressed, with a couple of people in his team what they perhaps did wrong in that fight. What did you make of those comments?
Good points from Tim, and I spoke to Glenn Jennings, Jay, about this just this morning, and he said that they had some serious meetings after the Fundora loss. They had 2 major meetings where they put all the cards on the table and said, we must get better. How do we get better? And obviously we don't know the full contents of those conversations, but talking to Glenn, he says that there was a lot of honesty, some truth there, and I think as a result, the corners will be better, and they have to be, because if another cut happens and they can't manage the cut or they can't make decisions under pressure, then Tim's career's on the line. It could ruin his career. So they've got to get it right. I believe they will, and I think Igor tactically will have the right fight plan for Tim, because they're going to have to, because Fundora is a unique beast, and it's going to be hard to get inside because of his ability to manage range, Fundora. So we'll see how it plays out, but I think Tim will stop him.
What's your thoughts on Nikita Tszyu's upcoming return on August 20?
I can't wait. Look, I think he's become a fully fledged pay-per-view star. He gets great numbers. We love the way he fights. He's an all-or-nothing guy, the butcher, and he's always entertaining. Look, I know he's had some issues with his hand, and then of course the birth of his child, which has delayed his preparation somewhat. But it's wonderful that he's back on the stage. Look, I think he's still unbeaten. He's world ranked. He was world ranked ahead of Tim at one point, which is pretty amazing. So I still think there's more gears in Nikita. I mean, I don't think he'll ever be probably the finished article like Tim, probably not as surgically brilliant or tactically brilliant, but I think Nikita's got one-punch knockout power, and I don't think there's many people in boxing that hit like Nikita. So if he transfers that power over later rounds, and I've noticed his fitness has improved, he was very good against Mazzudia with his fitness, and his recovery powers between rounds are very impressive. So I think Nikita can be a world quality fighter, no doubt. And who can he win a world title? That's the million-dollar question, but it's exciting to see him back in the ring.
Now, mates, what are we going to be getting up to in Vegas this week?
Well, have you seen the exchange rate lately? I'm a bit of a tight ass, Jay, so I might be going to maybe Macca's, so I might shout you Macca's, 20 nuggets, but anything 5-star, you can talk to No Limit about that.
Yes, I'll be in the gym this week, so I might challenge you to a run.
Well, I've just come off a marathon, Jay. My legs are still killing me, mate, so you'll probably get me.
Let us know the times. Tell us the times.
So I did the Gold Coast Marathon on July the 6th, last Sunday week, and I did 2:45, which was a PB. My PB was 2:47, and so very stoked with that. Not bad for an old 48-year-old hanging in there. But no, I do a lot of training. I take the splits.
Were 3 minutes?
So 3:53 pace per kilometre. But I do a lot of training. I take it pretty seriously. So there's still some legs in the old dog.
You're a specimen, mate. You're a specimen. Thanks so much, Pete. Appreciate it.
Anytime, brother. Anytime.